Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to City Skylines 2 and welcome back to Columbia County. In today's episode, we're going to be meeting some of the demands that my Sims have. They want a new welfare office, so I'm going one better. I'm giving them a citizen service center. And of course, it wouldn't be me if I wasn't coming back every other episode for another project on the waterfront. So we're going to be giving them more stuff down on the water. And we're going to be using some of the tiny parks to make this happen. My Sims also want more education. There is a huge elementary education bottleneck, so we're going to be building a new elementary school from the UK region pack and pairing it, controversially, with an American football field. And then I figured I should probably play around with some of the signature buildings, so we're going to put a nice signature mansion into our residential area, and all of that is going to come together to complete what might very well be the last suburban area in all of Blackwater. Not to be confused with Columbia County itself, we're just talking about Blackwater. This might be the last suburb that we build. So with all of that said and done, let's get to it. So now that we're making money, I suppose it's fair to say that I feel a little bit more comfortable spending money in and around Blackwater. We're not making a lot of money. It does still fluctuate. I mentioned in the last episode about how sometimes we're losing a whole bunch of money and then sometimes we're not really losing all that much money. And it's generally because our services are fluctuating a little bit in terms of how much they're costing to run. Healthcare occasionally goes up to 430,000 and occasionally goes down to 420,000. Same with transportation, which is now up to $636,000. There is a lot of money being spent on the maintenance of our transportation network, which is kind of wild considering we really don't have much of a transportation network. We have some bus lines and we have a really inefficient train line that just goes up and down here. It does occasionally get some passengers, to be clear. This train line, or these train lines, from time to time, there's 117 people on that train heading out, for example, and well, apparently there's multiple trains trying to get in here, which is a little bit weird. This one has 12 people on board. This one has 17. I'd kind of like to make sure. So this is train line 2. You are train line 1. Yeah, we might have too many trains, which is weird because we don't have that many of them. I'm not sure how this has happened, but yes, apparently my trains are now backing up a little bit. Either way, transportation is taking a lot of my money, but I would like to hope that we're going to be okay, and I would like to hope that we are going to continue to make some money. And part of how I want to do that is to continue to deal with the needs of my Sims, because as it stands right now, we are doing pretty good in terms of our healthcare availability. In the last episode, obviously, we built this new modern medical clinic, and at some point in that episode, I don't know if it was in the episode or not. I might have cut it out. I haven't edited it yet. I've just decided to record this one straight after. I also built a community firehouse, which means that fire coverage in this part of town is pretty solid as well. Obviously, education is being tended to by the little community elementary school over here and the modern high school. Elementary education, just by the way, is it's really not in a good place either. It's really not in a good place. 6,653 people are eligible. There's room for 2,850. So we're going to want to do something about that. I'm not too sure what I'm going to do about that just yet, but we need to do something about the education situation. And so it might be a little bit weird then that I'm not going to be starting with education, and instead I kind of want to start by looking at a welfare office or a citizen service center, or the Japanese health and welfare office. One or the other is what I want to build in this space, because our welfare coverage is not particularly good here either. We can see welfare coverage here. This area has bad coverage, which is not what we're looking for. The rest of town is doing pretty good. To be fair, it's doing all right. It's a little bit rough up there in roads, but I think this spot would be perfect for a really interesting looking building, and that's kind of why I'm sort of leaning towards the Citizen Service Center. I think it'd be kind of cool to have it in here almost blocking the view to all of this industry, and so I think that's what we're going to do. Now, I think the way we'll do this is by coming through this space and turning off Anarchy to bring a little road underneath here. And basically, that's Not going to be possible because there's a pillar right there. So we'll keep anarchy on so I can do what I want to do here. And I'm going to bring this road straight down to here to start with. And then I'm thinking I want to do some measuring to see if I can fit this thing in here in a way that's going to be at all satisfying. And it's going to need to be out here towards the water a little bit. So we'll bring this road out a little bit further. We'll go 32 meters. We'll come straight over this way, turning off our grid snapping. And that should be enough space to fit this thing relatively comfortably. It absolutely is. So it's going to live right about there. Obviously, there's going to be some detailing around it, but first things first, I want to come through here and I would like to get this little road connection right through this way. So this is just going to punch straight through that road that we already have. We'll take out the excess. And then I just want to use move it to make sure that this is all the same height. So we're going to set everything to the height of the building, which I've done and sort of messed up that road back there. So I think just to make things a bit tidier, we'll take you out and we'll just replace it with a road that has the good old straight slopes option enabled. So we'll run that straight through. That is not what I'm looking for at all. We'll do that one more time to about there. Should be pretty solid. And that's kind of what I'm looking for. It's a bit of a larger building than I was expecting to put in this space, but I think it works. I think it's kind of similar to having the police headquarters over here on the water as well. We've got these apartment buildings. It just sort of continues through and it gives us something for this chunk of land that we otherwise wouldn't have really done all that much with. It would have just been some zoning. So I like this a lot. I think we can also put some key walls just around here to make this place look a little bit more interesting. And I might even just bring, when we do have key walls down here, I think we're just going to continue those key walls the entire way around there. I think it's going to look pretty good if we can get some nature out into that space. But before we do that, I'm kind of wondering what I want to do in terms of detailing this thing. And I think the way I'm going to do it is relatively simple. We're just going to play with the surfaces that are on here already and just bring them straight out. So that's going to give us a pretty big sort of pathway that leads straight to the back of the building. I'm honestly okay with that. And just to make life a little bit easier when measuring out some new paths, I'm going to just have it snap to the side of the building to start with. We're going to bring this straight across here and we're going to make sure this all sticks together. So this is going to go up to that spot right about there. This guy is going to go, I'm going to say to here should be fine. I can bring those surfaces over when we start working on all of that. And I suppose it probably wouldn't hurt to kind of double this up a little bit, go for a little bit of a wider path in here. So that's going to be a path just sort of cutting across this space. We can do a bunch of grass in here and detail this space really nicely that way. But what we need to do is get a little node right there, a little node right here, a node here, and a node here. And I should be able to drag this right out. And that gives us an extension of that surface. Same thing on this side. We're going to come out like this, and then we're going to extend these that little bit further so that we have that extension to that surface, which means I can now go in, we can get rid of those paths, and we're left with this, which looks sort of like a flag, I suppose. That's totally fine. What I'm wondering though is, can I get rid of those hedges? And I absolutely can. I want to get rid of you, and I want to get rid of you. And I'm thinking we can replace that surface with the standard grass surface and then just drag that out as well. So it's going to come down from about here to right about here. You're going to come down this way, and we'll fill all of this space as well. Okay, so with this in place, I think I want to try and work on the waterfront here just to try and get this whole thing roughly done. I don't think it's ever going to be 100%. We've talked about this idea before, that nothing's ever really 100% done in City Skylines, but I'm going to get it as close to being done as I possibly can. And I think part of doing that is going to be lowering the terrain a little bit. And the reason I want to do this is just so we can kind of see that really distinct line between where this sort of road is and where the rest of the terrain happens to be. So all of this is going to come down to about the same height. And then I think I'm going to hit it with a slight smoothing brush once we get towards the banks of the river so that we have a little bit less land out here to play with. I think that'll be okay, and I think we can get away with that. But I also want to put some paths down here. I want to make this walkable, much in the same way that you can walk from all the way over here to all the way over here, and there is a little path. So theoretically, if I do this right, you should be able to walk from basically one end of the city to the other, and I think that'd be pretty cool to do. So we'll go through here and just smooth or flatten this out that little bit more, right up to about there is kind of where I'm thinking. Although I might, and I think I will, have to go through here and just remove some of these trees. So we'll go for a bit of a stronger brush and a fair bit smaller. We'll take out all of these guys so I can really see what I'm doing here. And I'm kind of wondering if I want to try and slope this down a little bit, or if I want to just have my connection come off of here for this path. I kind of like the idea of doing both. I think we'll have it sloped down. I think we'll have a little connection over there as well. I'm not 100% sure how this is necessarily going to work, but we'll figure that out, because all we need to do is snap to here, get a nice sort of straight line going, make sure we have the constant slope tool enabled, which we do. And basically we want to go to out there. So do that right about there. That gives us that nice constant slope that we're looking for. We can give this a key wall right about there. And that looks pretty solid to me. Now I'm wondering if I want to do a retaining wall on the inside of this just to stop the terrain from getting a little bit weird and misbehaving that little bit. I don't know that we need to do that, but it probably wouldn't hurt either. I think that's maybe something we're going to go for. And then for the rest of this, looking at it, maybe we don't need a connection in here. I don't think we do. Although for this part, I'm kind of thinking that we do. So how would I make this work? How would I get this to connect in a way that's going to look kind of interesting? I suppose we could go from here, and I think that'll be fine. I don't really want to do a super steep slope like that though. And I think 10 meters might just be a little bit much for some of this. So I think what we'll do is we'll bring this out. I want to say to about there is probably fine. Maybe we go a little bit further. That doesn't seem too bad. So I think we'll do that. And I think we'll go from here and do sort of the same thing. And yes, this is messing with the terrain, but once I convert this, it'll be okay. We're going to turn this into basically an elevated section or a section with key walls, either or. I haven't really decided what way I'm going to do this just yet, but I think we'll bring this over. We'll get our guidelines and we'll curve this into that other section of path so it goes around the river really nicely. I think it is basically just going to curve around this entire section as well. And what I'd really like to do, now I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to be able to do this, but I'd like to go here and have this sort of slope down to line up with that path. But I think in doing that, it is absolutely going to mess with my parking. So I might avoid doing that because I really don't want to mess with the parking too much. I think it'd be kind of a nightmare if I did that. So it might be better to just do multiple little ramps here. That's 11. That's a pretty big gradient. I don't love that. I really, really don't love having a huge gradient on that. I suppose what I could do is perhaps just build a little section here, and then maybe we want to use, oh, let's move it, throwing more problems. That's never good. Maybe we use move it to raise this up to be the same height as that section of road. And then I just try somehow, some way to connect this all together. That might be a little bit easier. So we'll give this thing some key walls so it's nicely elevated. We'll go in and I guess we're going to try to get this to line up. So we'll make sure it is going to have some key walls itself. And if I do this, it is going to mess with things. I think I'm going to do it though. We do lose that bit of parking, but it does line up quite nicely. And I think what I can do is maybe just go in here and give this some sort of wider sidewalks or something. That might not be an option, unfortunately, but we'll figure it out. We'll get something in here that's gonna work nicely with what I'm trying to do. I'm sure there's a way without losing this really chunky sidewalk. So as imperfect as this might be, I think it's going to work. I think this is going to be a great little pedestrian connection that lets you walk from this part of the city all the way down to the other. Not that anybody's going to be doing that, but I think it's pretty cool nonetheless. We do still have the same problem where pedestrians are basically going to be walking through some guardrails. I'm really not too concerned about that. It's kind of just the reality of what we're trying to do here. So that's just going to be a thing. We can obviously, as we do, hide some crimes with a few little cheeky trees here and there. So we'll put a couple of London plane trees in there, maybe a nice little linden tree in the middle. It's a little bit smaller. And I think on these sides, maybe a hickory tree. That should help us hide those crimes that little bit better so that you can't really see that they're walking through some guardrails right there. And I think we'll do the same thing down here. We'll go for another set of maybe hickory trees either side of this little connection. And down here is slightly trickier because we probably want to avoid, you know, blocking the view from this part of the park, but I think we're just going to do the same thing. We'll go for a hickory and an alder tree. So again, you can't really see that they're going to be walking through a guardrail right there, but it should mean that people can, like I said, walk from one side to the other. And I think I did see someone walking their dog along here. It's not really proving to be all that popular of a path right now, but to be fair, one, it's huge, and two, there are much better and much easier connections to get down into this space than using this giant sort of riverside path that we have going on. So I'm not really all that surprised that people aren't using it that much. It would be nice if they did. I'm just not surprised that they're not. Now, what I will do is go in here and start putting in the trees to fill out this space. We'll turn off anarchy so we can do this properly. And we're just going to absolutely cover this place, at least initially, in a whole bunch of trees to really just absolutely cover it, really. I'm going to go about this far, though. I'm not really interested in blocking the view from this building. We're going to put some smaller trees in front of the building. But I do think spaces like this can probably just be filled with a whole bunch of the larger trees as well. So we'll just kind of go in here and fill out this space a little bit, maybe up to about that far as well. And then the rest of it is going to have just a bunch of the smaller trees that we talked about. So the lindens, the London planes, we'll do some green bushes as well, some apple trees. That way we're not completely obscuring the view from the waterfront here. We're not, you know, blocking the view from the buildings either. We are in a few spots, just, you know, places like here. I mean, well, I say we're not blocking the view. We are, it's just not as much. And there we go. We have someone walking along this path. That's one person. I don't know how much I spent building this path, probably more than I really should have. I mean, it's not that much in the grand scheme of things, but I don't know. Realistically, we would have spent probably a lot of money building this path if it was a real city. And yeah, there's one person. One person is using that path. That's a little, it's a little disappointing. I'm not gonna lie. It's slightly tempting to swap this out with like a pedestrian road or something, so that I can actually have, you know, little parks down here that would be usable. I just don't know that that's going to be something I can make look good, but it's very tempting because then I could put like a little dog park down here. I could put a little like playground down here. I think I'm going to have to, at least for maybe this part over here. Maybe that's kind of what we do, is we go and take out, and I was going to be done with this. I'm going to be honest. I was about to say, okay, that's enough. Let's move on and build something else. But I kind of think this might be a better way to do things. So if I take all of this out for now, and I bring maybe a little cut into this path, say there, I want to go in here and I want to do a fair bit of terraforming. We're going to set this back to normal at some point, but for now, we're just going to flatten a whole bunch of this out because I do need myself a nice little canvas to work with here. So we'll go for something sort of to about there. It should be fine. We might be extending the banks of the river ever so slightly here, but we'll be all right. What I'm looking for is the small pedestrian street And I'm wondering if I can get it to line up in a way that's going to be at all satisfying here. And by the looks of it, I kind of can. I don't think it's going to line up perfectly with everything I've got going on here, but I want to say that we can probably make this work. So that's a 6.2% grade. That's probably fine. Over on this side, we want to do about the same thing and maybe just rotate that one around just for the hell of it. We'll grab those two together and then use move it to make sure that they're nice and level. So we'll go ahead and level to that side, which we've now done. This might actually be the better way to do this. And then we'll just bring this all the way down here. It is going to give me a relatively straight edge on the banks of the river, but I think that's okay. I think that's all right. I think we can still make this work. So we'll bring this out to here. That's 6.6. And then over here, we want to go from, say, this spot to about there. We're just going to connect these guys together. We're just going to run this straight down to there and then flip this guy around. So technically, traffic can drive down there, and I think I'm kind of okay with that. Again, we can use move it to just grab all of those nodes, make sure they're nice and level to that one right about there. I can connect this path in here, no problem. And I can also put parks down here, which I think is huge. As for this space, I'm kind of tempted to bring this path down here. I might even connect it up there, just so I can get like a little dog park in that little corner. I think that would be kind of cool. It's a weird place for a dog park. There's no one living nearby. Now that I look at it, there's no one living nearby. They're all at least, well, quite a few blocks away, and quite a distance away in that direction as well. You can't even see them. There they are. Yeah, it's a weird place for a dog park, but it is going to bring people down here, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. So I think this might be the play. I don't know how I'm going to connect this yet. I haven't really figured that part out, but somehow, some way, I'm going to make this work. So we're going to go from, I'm going to say here, we'll go ahead and get a little straight section just so we can use that. And then from here, maybe that's what we do. Maybe we just come off of that corner. So, I mean, that would be our connection right there. I could go a little bit further up. We could go to there, but I think that's a bit weird. I kind of like the idea of using the corner, although getting this to all sort of connect together is going to be very tricky. But I guess if I was to sort of bring this guy down and then bring it over that way, does that look okay? I don't know that it does. I really don't. I mean, I can flip it around that way. It does sort of raise up a little bit. It's a bit odd, isn't it? It's a little bit odd having that out here. I feel like it does need to connect to the path, so I don't think we're gonna do that. I think we'll just bring the path back in here and we're not gonna worry about a dog park in that space. Unfortunately, I'd really like to worry about a dog park in there, but I mean, unless I do this, and I guess I could do this. I can just bring this through and then sort of loop it back on itself, but that just seems a little bit, I don't know, a little bit clunky. I think we'll just deal with what we have here, which means I can go and say, you know, let's put a small playground down here, urban pocket park down here, tiny city park down here. We've got the wide parks as well, which could even go on the banks of the river. I don't think I'm going to do that, but there is enough space. There's even enough space down here for a full plaza, which I think is absolutely something we're going to do, because again, it gives a reason for people to walk along the front of the river, and I think that's going to be kind of important. And you know, while that is a little bit more cluttered than it was before, it does add some outdoor recreation to the area, and I think that's going to make it worth it. I think it's worth having these guys down here, since it should attract people to the area, and it should help fill out a bunch of these parking spaces, which are starting to get filled out, which makes me very, very happy. I do like seeing that a lot. It should also attract people just to this path as well. We should see some people, and we do see a person and their dog. We've got Frankie and Oscar walking along here, which is great news. I don't see anybody else. It's always just one person, which is really disheartening, but it's okay. More people will come down here eventually, I'm sure. So I think when it comes to the rest of this space, given that we are now making a decent little bit of money, I want to come in here and purchase another tile, just so I have access to this entire plot of land. And I'm thinking what we're going to do is spend a little bit of time, not too much, but just a little bit of time coming through here and building out another block. So I'd like to get a measure on what we're looking at here, which is 160. So from here, we want to go another 160. We're going to go another 160. And from here, we're going to go another 160 straight through to about there. And then we'll just basically kind of cross the end. And that is essentially going to be the end of our commercial space for Blackwater. I'm really not interested in going too much further with any commercial zoning here. I think this is about it. This space is either going to be, well, it's probably going to be residential. I was going to say it might be some farms, but I'm thinking residential, and I might be cheeky and buy 2 more tiles just to get access to this island so I can put some forestry on there. Not that we need it. I have been looking at our production, and forestry is doing just fine. We could use a little bit more in the way of livestock. We definitely need to get into some coal industry at some point. I would love to do that. We just need, I hate to say it, but we need more money. We need a lot more money. We need a much more stable income before we can go and get into the coal industry. Now, that's not to say that there's not coal underneath the bit of the map that we're working with. In fact, down here, there's coal right next to Linden Creek. So if I wanted to, I could, oh, I don't know. Oh no, I might put a coal industry on that island. The reason I've been holding off is because I've been thinking about building another little town somewhere in Columbia County, and I wanted it to be a coal mining town based on LaGrange, Kentucky. But, ooh, we do need that coal industry. I don't think we're going to set it up today, but let me know what you think in the comments below. Should we do a little teeny tiny coal industry on this island just to start dealing with that demand? Or do we hold fast and hold firm and wait until we build? And I've just realized it's not going to be LaGrange. It's not going to be Little Bryan. It's going to be LaBryan will be the name of the other town. That'll be our coal mining town if we do that. Let me know in the comments below. Anyway, let's go ahead and swap out this road for more parking because I absolutely love it. Let's bring this guy down to here as well so we kind of keep those blocks going, and let's start putting in some of those wider sidewalks so that people are kind of pushed towards the parking roads, which is where we want them to be. We don't want them parking at the sides of the road unless there is parking to be parking in. Them's the rules. That's how we operate around here. We'll do a little something there. We'll bring some, do I want to bring trees through all of this? I think I do. I'm kind of liking doing the trees around all of this space. I also realize that's a little one-way road. That can probably get changed into a 2-way road now that we have multiple ways for them to go, which means we can put some grass back in there. Down this way, same thing. We'll do grass, and we'll do grass all the way down there. In fact, we didn't do the grass on the other side. Do we want to change that? I feel like I kind of do. I think, well, no, we'll hold off for now. We'll leave it be. We'll not go fully symmetrical with all of this. Maybe this part down here is not quite as fancy as the stuff that's up by the water, which would kind of make sense. But I think this is a decent enough little grid to work with. I'm also realizing that if I wanted to, I could extend our bus line out, but I don't think we're going to need to do that. I think the bus line is probably just fine as it is. And I'm also thinking that we will probably have some more residential all the way down here. Although if I do have this coal industry out here, I'm not too sure how I'm going to set that up. I mean, the wind is going to be blowing the pollution away from any residential stuff that we have in here. I just don't know what the road connection is going to look like for a coal industry here. I haven't quite figured that out yet, so that's going to be a fun little experiment, I suppose. And I'm also thinking I might bring this road down a little bit further. No, I don't think I will, actually. I was going to bring it down further and just extend the commercial space But no, I think all of this should just be full of residential. So let's actually get those roads in here nice and quickly right now. If I remember right, it was 96 meters between these guys. It absolutely was. So we're just going to come off of here, 96 meters. We're going to go here, 96 meters. And do I want to come off the end of this road? I think I do. So we'll go 96 meters right to there. We're going to start connecting these guys together, and we're just going to build out some grids. It's nothing too crazy, nothing too fancy, as we're used to around here. But we're going to build out some very, very simple grids, and that's going to give us a nice amount of zoning, which is exactly what we're looking for. All right, so in terms of commercial zoning, I'm going to try and do pretty much what I did before, where we're going to be using the North American low density buildings. We do have some weird terrain in here as well, but that should be okay. I think it'll be all right. I don't think it's going to get too weird once the buildings start going in here. Basically, we're going to use these guys. We're going to try and do the same sort of 5x5 thing that we were doing before. So some 5x5 buildings right there. We can do, I guess, ooh, we don't quite have space for 5x5s. We can do some 4s in the middle there though, which is actually what we did on the other side as well. And then in here, I think we're going to just sort of switch it up a little bit with a 4. We'll do some 4s here as well. I don't really want them rotated that way though. I want them on this lower road, which is like that. And we'll do some 5s in the middle there, just to change up the pattern that we have going on. I know I put some office buildings in some parts of this as well. I think we will do that again. I don't think that's a terrible idea. So we'll go in with, let's do some 5s. Let's see if we can get some 5x5 office buildings just in these spots. And we'll do some smaller commercial buildings just in the corners here as well, which again are facing Beach Street, which is what we're looking for. And then down this way, do I want to change it up a little bit? Do I want to put some offices on, wait, Sunset Street? Oh no, it's been renamed. That just will not do. It was Franklin Boulevard, Franklin Boulevard. That's not it. VAR Boulevard. There we go. I can spell. All right. Crisis averted. That is much better. I think for in here, we'll just sort of stick to the plan and do our slightly larger commercial buildings like so. I need you to rotate though, so you're facing that way. Not 100% sure if they'll be the same type of commercial building, but that should be all right. I am slightly tempted to see if I can get away with this. Can I get like some, ooh, you know what? Yeah, let's change it up a little bit. I don't know what these 2x5s are going to be, but they're probably going to look stupid. But we'll go for that and see how it turns out. And then on this other side, let's do another 5x5. We'll do a 5x5. You need to rotate so you're on the boulevard there, if you don't mind, buddy. There we go. And I think I'm going to do some offices. I think we'll go for some 4x5 offices just in the middle here to change it up a little bit. I think that's probably a pretty good idea. We still have that office demand. We actually could continue the offices straight through here as well, which is, I think, what we're going to do. So we'll build out that space. And I think we'll build out this space as well. So we have all of those offices going in. It might take a second for those to build, but honestly, that's okay. And I think I might do the same thing down here as well. So offices over to about there. And then maybe we switch it up and we do some commercial in here as well. I don't want to go too huge with it, but I think we could go for, yeah, you know what? We'll go for the bigger ones. We'll go for the 5x5s again, just because we can. And again, I want them on King Street this time. We'll then just do some offices in between just to change up the whole area, make it look a bit different, and that's pretty good. As for over here, I think what we're probably gonna do is something similar to these trees as a dividing line between everything. So we need to wait for these buildings to come in. We'll have some trees sort of going across here, probably some parking as well, which means that up this way, I think we want to do some more commercial. So Franklin Boulevard obviously continues down there. I think what we'll do is stop this whole thing of having the buildings facing Franklin Boulevard, and instead we'll build some that face Strawberry Street. If I can get some slightly larger ones, that'd be great. I don't think that's going to be an option, so we'll bring this down. It'll be a 5x6 this time, which is facing Strawberry Street. We'll do a 5x6 on this side as well, facing Strawberry Street. Then we'll come down to a little 5x5, a little 5x5. And I think that'll be, is that the wrong size? That is the wrong size. 5x5 right there. And that'll start to sort of surround this space that we're working with. And that's kind of what I want. I'd also like to see these office buildings get filled up, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. So we'll do a 4x5 and a 3x5. And then over this way, this might just stay as it is. This might just end up being like a little pedestrianized space. I think we could have some fun, maybe with a little sort of pedestrian road coming out here, put some parks on this, get some key walls around this. I think that'll be pretty solid. But I think this is also going to be just a good extension of what we've been working with so far. I will say that I completely forgot about the fact that this does go downhill here, but that's probably fine. And I suppose while we're waiting for all of this to build, we should come in here with another district. So let's figure out exactly what we're going to be dealing with in terms of district names this time. We'll bring it sort of down and around the same way we did last time, right down to the end of the regional road. We'll go to about here. We can go straight up to about there. And I guess we'll just go a little bit further, actually. We'll just go to the edge of the water. That seems like a fair shout. And we'll try our best to follow this around in a way that makes sense. So we'll kind of have it follow the water to about there. We'll go to about there. We're going to go, I guess, all the way out to about there. And it's going to need to go up from there, which should be fine. So this is going to be the district of Valley Gardens, which is honestly not the worst name. It's not what it's going to be staying with. That's not going to be the permanent name of it. Let me know in the comments below what it should be, but it's not the worst name either. Now, in terms of Valley Gardens, we do have some space in here to play with, which I would very much like to do. So I think what I'm going to go ahead and, well, do is get myself a little something in terms of a park in the middle here. Now, to do that, do I want to play with gravel roads, alleyways, parking lot roads? I kind of have no idea, to be totally honest. I think the best thing we could do is maybe actually just use the regular pedestrian street to come through here. Maybe to about, say, that spot, and then maybe the small pedestrian street could just cut straight across here. It is a one-way thing, which I don't love, but my thinking is that that gives me space to basically go in here and build whatever I want in terms of parks. I don't know if I want an American football field. I don't think I want to do another soccer field, but just something in here, maybe like a small playground, maybe the larger playground would be an idea right here. We could even go in with the dog park, which I didn't get to build elsewhere. So a little dog park there actually seems like a perfect little addition to that space. We can put some trees around it. I think it'll look great. You know what? Maybe we should put an American football field out here. I'm not 100% sure how this is going to make all that much sense, because it really doesn't look like it's just a little local American football field. It does look like it's not a stadium, but it's a football grounds, right? Like there's a team here. The Chirpers are here. So I don't know that it necessarily makes sense. Maybe it would be an idea, given that we have got such a bad situation with elementary education, and we're getting pretty bad with high schools as well. Maybe we come in here with an elementary school. Maybe that's the idea. We could go in with something like the urban elementary school, which would look so out of place in here. I'm not too sure about that one. The urban high school, definitely not. We are not going to be using the German one. We're not going to be using the French one. The Japanese elementary school is huge. It's got its own thing going on there as well. We could use the suburban elementary school that comes with the UK region pack. I don't think it necessarily, I don't know if it works with this, with the American football field. That might be a little bit upsetting to some, but I want to say that's maybe the right call. I want to say that kind of works, and we could go ahead and expand this to get more students in there, so it's kind of got a bit of a bigger footprint. We are now losing money. We were just making money. This thing's 107,000. This is 40. Oh my, really? We were just making money. How did this happen? Oh, it's terrible. Okay. This thing, I think, could live... I'm thinking I'm going to put it here. I don't love the idea of putting it on the other side of the road, but I think other side of the road is fine for this. It's... you know what? What if I got rid of this street? What if I did that? And what if I move you in here? That, to me, makes a little bit more sense. So they're kind of in the same footprint, right? That, I think, makes sense. We could then go in here with some tennis courts. I don't think tennis courts would hurt anybody. I think some tennis courts would be kind of cool. I could also, if I really wanted to... Oh, I can just put them at the back of the school like this. That's pretty good. There is some weird stuff going on with the terrain there. I don't love that, but I think we've got to do that. I think that's what we got to do. And I think we got to use move it to just grab all of this and then level it to the height of, say, that node. And then that is going to mess with some of the roads that we have in here, but I can sort of shuffle those around with move it as well, just to make everything behave a little bit better. That's a little bit steep, but that's okay. I kind of like this. I kind of think this works. It doesn't have any parking around it, which is going to be a problem, but well, we can probably fix that. There's parking lot roads in City Skylines 2 now. I don't know if you know about that. I don't think I've ever mentioned the fact that there's parking lot roads in City Skylines 2 now, but there are, and they're great. Oh wow, there are so many people walking to this elementary school right now. That's amazing. There's 1,500 students in here instantly, which is also some pretty good news. But I think what I'd like to do is just go through here and do a little something with some surfaces and with some detailing. I'm kind of curious to see, are these hedges? So these hedges are all props, which is fine, I suppose. I want to see what these fences are, and it kind of seems like it's difficult to tell what those fences are on these parks, which is a little bit unfortunate. It'd be nice if I could get rid of those, though. I think they might be... Well, I don't know, actually. They might be net lanes. They might not be net lanes. I don't know if I can get rid of the fences in these parks, which is a little bit unfortunate, really. I was really hoping I could get rid of them, but it doesn't seem like that is going to be the case. I can get rid of these surfaces, these decals, but I don't really want to do that either. I want rid of the, what is this? What is similar category? This is exact match. You know what? It's probably fine. We'll keep the fences. We'll not worry too much about it. I can change out the surfaces a little bit. I think these hedges, I think they can stay, I suppose. Maybe one or two of them could go. In fact, I think that's exactly what we'll do, is get rid of, say, this one, and then maybe get rid of the one opposite as well, so you can have a little path through there. Maybe get rid of these two, so this path can kind of continue down that way. That seems like it might be an interesting idea, because then I can play with some surfaces here and see if we can't maybe just make this place a little bit more accessible by foot traffic, especially since we're probably going to have to bring some buses through here in the not too distant future. So that continues down that way. In terms of surfaces for the rest of this, it's a little open in the back. Not too sure what to do about that, but maybe we'll just go through with some tiles for the time being. We'll just bring this straight across like this, which gives us a nice little connection. And then this can go and, I suppose, connect down to here somewhere. So we'll go and do to that corner and there. We can do the same over on this side as well. So it can connect down to, oh, that's not what I'm looking to do. Down to that corner and about there. I don't think they're going to be the same size. They're actually not far off, which is pretty good. Okay. Don't mind that. This is all one big surface. I don't think I want to play around with that too much. Is this the same surface? It is. Do I want that to be lighter? Would it look better if that was a lighter surface? I don't know if it does. I think we'll go with the lighter one though. And then I think I'm going to go in here and just fill in this space with a nice grass surface as well, which has very deliberately been left out of this asset. I can't remember if any reason has been given. I just feel like I remember at some point it is a deliberate choice to leave the grass surfaces out of this asset. I cannot remember who said that or where I read that though, so that might be that might not be factual. I'm gonna say that I read it somewhere, but I don't exactly remember where. Okay, so I think this kind of works for the area. I've swapped out the decals on the tennis courts to be something a bit less bright than the super vibrant orange that was in here before. And I think that about brings us to the point where we can start looking to bring some residential zoning in here. Although we do have a little bit of room up here that I want to zone just before we do that. So I want to get some buildings into these spaces. I know these were gonna be some commercial buildings, but I figure I might as well just go in with some, or sorry, they were going to be offices, but I might as well go in with some commercial just to get it filled in that little bit quicker since we don't have any office demand right now. So that'll let us fill those spaces in. I think what I'm also going to do is maybe go into this space with some parking. Not that we urgently need it, but just because it's a thing that we've been doing in a few of these spots, we can kind of just cut across here with a parking road so that there is space back there for people to, well, park, which is going to be important for those businesses and offices. Basically the same thing that we did over here, just a little bit less room for it in here, which is completely fine. Then for all of this, do I want to bring anything behind these buildings? I don't think I do. I think we're probably good not doing that. I think we'll probably do some, we can do some paths in here just to sort of get something alongside these guys. That way we can, you know, let people walk around the backs of these buildings. I think that's probably a good idea. But beyond that, I don't really think we're going to go too crazy doing too much with the backs of these guys. So we'll go around just like we've done 100 times before in City Skylines II. We'll just line the backs of those buildings. I think we could probably afford to bring these paths straight through in a couple of places, so you can kind of walk straight through to the neighborhood if that's a thing that you're interested in doing. Maybe not that one. That one's a little bit weird. The terrain's definitely not playing too nicely there. And I think we'll do the same thing over here. I know we have a path in that space too, so it might as well have a bit of symmetry going on here. And then it was 4 tiles there and 4 on the other side. So 4, oh, that's not what I want at all. We want 4 tiles in those corners, just like that. And then when we put those trees in there, that'll be a really nice divide between everything, really, which is exactly what we're looking for. I'm also wondering if it would be worthwhile bringing the green bus line down into this suburb, or if it would be worth setting up an entirely new bus line for this area. I genuinely don't know what I want to do there. Obviously, you know, putting bus lines on these roads will get rid of the parking. And I do kind of want the green bus line going up and down this road. I think that's kind of important. I think it'll look cool. It might just be the case that we need to sort of shuffle it a little bit so it kind of goes down towards this this school. In saying that, it's not that far of a walk straight down Primrose Street to get to the school. So we'll maybe just pay attention to this bus stop, which is super busy. And I think we might be all right. That looks like a lot of people walking from that neighborhood, or what's soon going to be a neighborhood, to get to the bus. So I'm kind of okay with that. So since we have the river pretty much alongside Hillside Street, which by all accounts should probably be renamed to Riverside Street, since that makes a bit more sense, I think what we'll do is use some of the waterfront housing just across here and see how that turns out. I'm hoping it's going to look okay. I'm not really going to hold my breath though, because I really don't know that it will look okay. That's always kind of the risk with the waterfront housing. And I think we'll do the same thing on the other side as well. Go for, you know, slightly larger plots on the other side here. I don't love that we have one that's a different side to the rest, or size to the rest. So, how do I want to tidy that up? I think what we'll do is take this sort of end one out and just sort of chop this all down so we kind of get them all to be the same. That's not what I want. That's still not what I want. That one's the wrong size. Let's just get you guys to behave a little bit here. Take you guys out and just get a bunch of buildings in here that are the same. Nope, almost. There we go. That was a lot more work than it should have been, but that's going to give us a bunch of buildings that are, you know, more or less the same size. And then for the rest of this place, I'm sort of thinking we just go regular North American housing. I think that's kind of what we go for in here. I don't really think we need to go too crazy with it. So we'll go and sort of fill up this space. We'll fill up this space. I might have to do some rotating with some of these houses to get them to sort of look a little bit better, but we're just going to go in here with a whole bunch of North American housing, really. So we'll go for something a bit smaller on this side. We'll go for about the same size here. We'll do a bit of terraforming to make that work. This could maybe be waterfront as well, since it's relatively close to the waterfront. And then on this corner, maybe just a park, maybe a nice sort of big plaza park right about there, just to take up the space. Seems fair enough to me. And then on this side, we'll do the same thing. More waterfront housing right about there. Should be all right. Okay, so that is the bulk of the building for Valley Gardens. I think it turned out okay. It's not as dense as I was expecting it to be, but it's a bit further on the edge of town, so maybe it shouldn't quite be as dense as even Linden Creek, or especially, well, they're all kind of on the edge of town. This one's the furthest away from town, though, so I think it being a little bit less dense is fair enough. I did end up using a lot more of the North American waterfront housing than I was expecting to, but honestly, I think it turned out okay, and I don't really mind it too much, so we have a nice little sort of wealthy looking neighborhood. And that actually made me think about some of the signature buildings and the fact that we maybe could play around with some of these, because we do have things like the UK executive mansion, for example, but we also have the real estate agent's mansion, and there's a bunch of relatively high-end houses in here that I could unlock if I wanted to. I'm kind of thinking this one, though. I unlocked this one while I was placing all of these buildings, and it's a pretty big building. It gives us a nice bit of well-being within the area, so maybe sort of a dedicated space for the real estate agent mansion out here on the water would be kind of interesting, so it's kind of away from the neighborhood itself. I don't know if it's worth doing, but I think that's what we're gonna do. So let me get myself a little bit of an alleyway here, and we're gonna bring it out to, say, that spot. And I guess what we're going to try and do here is get something that's kind of a 45-degree angle to what we're working with right now. So I want to go over here a little bit, and I kind of want it to be this sort of angle. So 45 would be there. And honestly, I think I can work with that. So we'll bring this kind of over. We'll go a little further over here. And somehow, some way, I need to get a 45-degree angle in here, which I think I can do just by doing that. Yeah, that's a 45 right there. So we'll just kind of bring this through and see if that's going to be enough space for this mansion, which it's enough. I think that's going to be enough space. We can obviously sort of deal with the terrain a little bit in just a moment, but I think that'll be enough space. What we can do now is just go in here, sort of cut out this excess part. I might even freeform this a little bit more just so it doesn't quite look as I don't know, as jagged as it is right now. I don't mind it though. I don't think it's too bad. And then maybe what we do is just go from here to there. And that's just the space for... Actually, is that just what we do? We just come off of there instead? That might actually be the better play. Just doing that, basically. I think it is. I think we just keep it simple and we just put it out there on the water. We can kind of bring the terrain out around it a little bit, maybe do, I don't know, a tennis court next to it or a basketball court next to it. Something like that could be kind of fun. Let's have a little bit of a look and see what we have in terms of sports parks. We have the basketball court. Yeah, you know what? We'll put it there. I don't know. Don't know if that's something that would be next to a real estate agent's mansion, but it's what we're going to go for. I can get rid of these. Oh, I can get rid of these walls. I think I'm gonna get rid of some of them and sort of incorporate this this basketball court into the rest of the lot. So that means getting rid of the grass, which is a bit of a pain, but that's all right. I think that's going to mean getting rid of the fence around the basketball court as well. I think that's going to mean getting rid of the food stall and possibly those tables and chairs. And maybe, I think I'll keep these. In fact, I think I'll keep most of them. We'll get rid of that one because I can bring this path straight over to the basketball court. And then all I need to do is go in here and start adjusting some of my surfaces, which is always fun, and it's kind of quickly becoming one of my favorite things to do in City Skylines 2. is just play around with the surfaces a little bit. So we'll bring this node down ever so slightly, and hopefully I can just bring this straight through. Does that look about the same? It kind of does, actually. So that's good. This is going to come over to right about there, and then I just need to surround this entire thing with the surfaces. So we'll go to, I'm going to say there is about as far as we need to go. We can bring it down to the road. Is this going to overlap? It doesn't. That's perfect. Okay. That makes my life so much easier. And there we go. Once again, add a whole bunch of trees to anything, and it kind of just brings it together, which is absolutely fantastic for me because I have a thing with trees, man. I like nature, you know? I really do. It just really brings everything together in Cities Skylines. I'm also really happy with how this little space has turned out. Just a little bit off that main road. You've got this beautiful mansion. You've got the basketball court right there, which, I mean, there's a few homeless people camping out on it, but we'll not worry too much about that. That's totally fine. It's got some great views out the back right there across the river. I don't know if that's going to be there forever. There might be something built on the other side of that river one day, but for now, it's got some really great views, which is absolutely fantastic. Now, speaking of absolutely fantastic, there are a lot of people wanting to use this bus. There's a lot. there's a lot. There's 381 people waiting to use this bus right now, which is good and bad. It is good because people are using public transport, and it is bad because, well, we're not doing it very efficiently. So I think what I'm going to do is make some slight changes to public transport because this one's really busy as well. We might genuinely need more buses on this line. But for now, I'm going to try my best to just improve things a little bit. So I'm going to take these guys out of here, and I'm going to look at adding some bus stops to this space down here. So I think we're going to start with we'll do an EU bus stop shelter, say right about there. And that's going to let them sort of come down that road into this space. How do I want them to loop around in here is going to be the real question. Do I want them to go up that way? Or do I want them to go down that way? That is the all-important question. I think I want them to sort of go up this way. So it's going to come down, it's going to hit here, it's going to go up this way, and then it's going to loop back, is what I think it's going to do. So I think we can add a bus stop to maybe the front of these houses as well. And then what we do is have it come all the way back, which means getting rid of the trees on that road. Oh, if it comes down that one-way road, though, that might be a problem. So we're going to try and avoid going down that one-way road. We can add a stop to that side as well. And then basically what we do is have this bus avoid that main road now, which is a little bit unfortunate. I was really liking seeing the buses go down that main road, but we'll just go ahead and avoid it and add a stop right there. We're going to add a stop right about there. And then from this guy, we're going to extend it down. It is going to go to here. I would kind of like to avoid using that one-way road, that parking lot road. I think that's a bad idea. We'll bring it up here, and then we're just going to loop it back on itself, a little something like that. It's going to go to about there, and it just loops the entire way around. It's a bit of a mess of a line at this point, but it does give us access to this school, and honestly, it's tempting to move these bus stops to the front of the school. I almost want to say that that would probably make a lot more sense. I really, you know what? It'll be fine for now. It'll be okay. So zooming out and taking a look at everything, I kind of think there's 2 more things that I want to do, maybe 3, depending on whether or not we're going to do that little coal mining industry on the island, but 2 more things for sure that I want to build in Blackwater before I consider the city, the town, we'll call it, before I consider the town finished. The first thing is expanding the industry. I want to just bring it around that coastline a little bit so it's sort of opposite our newly built area. I don't just want to have industry over there. I would like to maybe do some offices so that we're dealing with something that's not just going to be a bunch of smokestacks across the water again, which we've had before, but I do want to expand Anchor Junction a little bit just to sort of finish it off. It feels a little bit unfinished on that right side. And then there's this space between our new build and the UK suburb you can see in the bottom left. I don't really know what should go in here. I don't want to build too much in here. I don't want to necessarily just do another suburb, but I would maybe want to play around maybe with some more signature buildings, maybe something like that, maybe the dairy house as an industrial signature building since we have a lot of farming around here. But I do want to put something in this space, maybe just more farms, and then this space will be considered done. I suppose we should also do something with the rail depot up in the top left, but I'm really not super concerned about that. I don't know if that's going to be something I do in an episode or something I do in a live stream or something I just do in my own time. I don't know if detailing that rail yard is something that everyone wants to watch. So again, maybe let me know in the comments below. I do know that I'm really enjoying looking at Blackwater at night. This is the first time I've ever looked at it from sort of this view before, and just looking at all the emergency lights going, it's very, very cool. And this mansion's not bad down here either. They've got a really great view and a really just beautiful spot for nighttime. Absolutely love how this has turned out. But I think that is going to do us for today as this bus heads down into our new suburb right past that American football field, which actually from this angle looks really cool. I don't think these people living in these houses would love the metal fence around it or the occasional ball coming over into their yard, but it's a pretty cool looking space. I'm really happy with it. It's managed to deal with a bunch of the demand that we had. We've dealt with a lot of the issues and demand that Blackwater had today. We had demand for more education. We have done that. We had demand for more welfare. We have done that. All in all, I think we've made this a much more pleasant part of the city than we've had before. Not to say that the other parts of the city aren't pleasant. They're delightful. It's just this one I think is a little bit more focused in that regard. I think I've kind of focused a little bit more on what people need and been a bit more mindful of that. So it's nice that over a year after this game came out, I'm still learning things. And to be fair, I was still learning things about Cities Skylines 1 right up until I started playing Cities Skylines 2. So I'm hoping that that's never going to change. I really like learning things in different games. This has been a really fun series so far, and I think there's a lot more to it still to go. I'm really looking forward to seeing where we are with Columbia County in another few weeks, another few months, and I want to see, you know, I want to start looking towards what the next series is going to be. This one's not going anywhere. There's a lot more that I want to do here. I like to look at what I learned in the first series and what I've brought into this one. So what am I going to take from this one into the next one? That's what I mean. Anyway, as we go past the Barbie house right there, I think we can leave it there for today. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. It has been an absolute pleasure as always. And as always, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.